Hey y'all, so as you can see right here, I'm getting ready to plant a ton of tulips. I also have 7 flats of pansies that I have over here. I'll show you here in just a second that I need to get in the ground. So we are going to start getting pretty cold here pretty soon, and I'm so behind on getting these tulips in the ground. I'm definitely not too late, but I'm just a little bit behind on getting these tulips and these pansies into the ground. So the annuals for the summer were pentas. I'm a penta fan. I don't think they give as much color as I like. I generally plant things like sun patience and things that just have a real bright mound of color. And I was a little bit unhappy with the pentas up here this summer for annuals. And I think I might give them one more try though. I really like them in my hanging baskets. But up here, even in the front and in the back in the hanging baskets, the hummingbirds really, really loved the pentas. So I might give them another chance now that we've got our front sprinkler system adjusted. And when I have a second, I don't know if it'll be in this video or not, but I'll definitely show you the difference in our sprinkler system getting the 12-inch heads put in. Although it was a little bit destructive. They had to dig up some plants because those 12 inches risers, they go down below the ground because the 12-inch heads have to have somewhere to go down before they come up. And so they had to do a little bit of digging. They had to dig up some of my plants. We actually had some heads installed as well for some places that were that just didn't get good coverage. And so it definitely helps in the summer. Obviously this time of year, that's not a big deal, but I'm very happy with the sprinkler system now, how it's working. And down by our driveway, down by the street that really struggled with water, we'll be able to run the sprinkler system now and it will stay pretty damp down there. Whereas before it was just a huge struggle, even with me putting my spot sprinkler down there. And in the middle of the summer, you guys know that just gets a little bit daunting when you're having to do that 2-3 times a week. And I work full time as well. So anyways, we've gotten the sprinkler system adjusted and I'm much more happy. We probably should have done all that before we put the landscape in, but I really wasn't sure of my landscape plan up here in the front because I've just kind of winged it the whole time. A lot of people initially said, hey, can you show me your landscape plan up front? And I just didn't do a landscape plan. I just did everything on a whim, transplanted things on a whim, planted things on a whim, and I really didn't know what direction I was gonna go up here in the front until I started getting some plants in and transplanting some boxwoods. And so because of that, I wasn't able to adjust the sprinkler system up front, but now we've got it adjusted. It should be much more efficient, and I'm very, very excited about that. But today, I am going to get these tulips and the pansies in the ground, but I wanted to go over the tulips that I purchased for the front. So I have a lot of tulips here. I have some alliums here, and I just wanted to go over the names of those. They're quite different than last year. Last year, many of you know, if you haven't already seen it, please go back and watch the YouTube video. I will link it up here. And I'll show you what last year's looked like. They were all purple. It was kind of a monochromatic theme with the exception of some double pinks that were mixed in a blend. I get all my bulbs from color blends. I've had great success with color blends. If you're in that kind of no man's zone where you may or may not need cold stratification, color blends does give you that option to where they will cold stratify for you. And so I do like that about them. I choose not to cold stratify because generally in the winter here, we get enough cold to where these produce really, really well. But this is a much different blend than last year. So I shouldn't say blend. I never do blends. I got some doubles last year and it was a blend of the exact same tulip, but in a couple different colors. And I didn't have the option to just get one straight color. So I had to choose a blend in that one tulip. But I have 3 different tulips here that I've blended myself. You can do early, mid, and late tulips. So if you're not going to do a blend from Color Blends, which is just a pre-assembled blend, typically for early, mid, late, and they do a really good job of blending heights as well in those blends. If you don't want to do the work of looking at early, mid, late, and then looking at the heights, then you can just order a blend from them. But I choose to order individual tulips and blend them myself. I generally like mid to late blooming tulips. I don't really prefer early tulips because I would rather have that all at one show versus kind of a staggered effect, and that's just my preference. So anyways, why don't we just go over the tulips I purchased, and I'll pop up a picture of each one here, and I'll go over the alliums that I got as well. And so the first one is Big Apricot. So This is as it may sound, an orange tulip. It's a pretty tall, it's a standard tulip. It's your typical standard looking tulip. Very, very pretty. I like the blend of pinks and oranges. I'm also a big fan of blends of pink with like a maroon or a deep burgundy color. It's just kind of my color palette, and I really, really like those color combinations. But this year, everything is pink and orange. I didn't do any burgundy. I thought about doing some burgundy color, but I just decided against it. I thought that I would do this blend, and then next year I'll try out another blend, and then another blend after that, a blend of my own making. But I will try it out, because as much as I love like purples and pinks, and I would love to do purple every year, that would get really pretty boring. And I want to test out all the different types of tulips that Color Blends offers, and just kind of see what works best for us, and see if some of these tend to come back. Tulips here in our zone, in Zone 7 in Oklahoma City, they are not reliable coming back, and even if they do, they typically will shoot up some leaves, but you never really get the actual tulip head forming. You don't get that color, and it's just super unreliable. So a lot of people have asked me in the past about, why do you plant tulips as annuals? Well, because we have to, and I really like the show, and I think it's really pretty. And you know, tulips and plants are just things that I would prefer to spend my money on, and I know that it is an investment, and some people would choose not to do that, but it's just kind of it's my thing. Gardening and home interiors are my thing, and if I'm going to spend money on something, that's typically what it's going to be. So with that being said, let's move on to the next tulip, because I just got sidetracked. But the next one is Leva. Again, I'll put all the pictures of these tulips and these alliums up in this video so that you'll be able to see them. Leva has a real fun petal, and it is a standard pink. The next one is Minton. It's kind of a salmon orangish color, so I think it goes really well with the pink, the traditional pink, and the traditional orange of the big apricot. And again, that is also a standard looking tulip, and I'm really excited to see how this blend that I've created performs. As far as alliums go, I got 3 different types of alliums. So I got Globe Master, which is typical. If you've followed along for some time, you might remember that I transplanted a bunch of tulips from the back. So I think some of them were Globe Master and Gladiators and alliums, so I kind of ordered repeats of those. I didn't plant those back there, and they just came up, so that I just transferred them up to the front, and they all came up this last spring, and I'm really hoping they all come back this coming spring. Typically allium here for us are perennials, and they do come back, so they stand a very good chance. We haven't been too wet. I don't think we've been necessarily too dry, so I think everything as far as allium go should probably come back. Sorry, it's a little bit breezy here in Oklahoma City, which is pretty standard for us, but I tried not to talk when it gets super breezy, because sometimes when I go back to edit these videos, the audio is a little rough. But the Globe Master allium, as I already said, I did the Ambassador allium, and I did Gladiator. So I did 10, 15, and 10 in that respective order of these allium. And I just really thought that the allium kind of scattered throughout up here last spring was really pretty. I had so many people stop when they were walking in the neighborhood and driving by and ask me, what are those round purple balls? And so obviously it wasn't just me that thought that they looked pretty good. Everybody seemed to like them, and the bees absolutely love them. In the spring, there'll be 10, 15 bees on one single allium, especially some of the Globe Master alliums that are really pretty big. The bees absolutely love them. So that is another reason why I'm planting more allium. That and the fact that they are perennials here for us. But anyways, I rambled on here. I could talk about these tulips and these alliums for quite some time more. However, I need to get to work. I have some family in town, and my brother and my dad are out golfing with my husband, and so it is my chance. While it's nice outside here today, it's about 60, I think it was like 68 degrees last time I checked. While it is nice out and 68 degrees, I'm going to get 800 tulip bulbs, 35 allium bulb, and 7 plats of pansies in the ground. So why don't we just go ahead and get started? Okay, so I've got the allium separated, I've got the tulips separated, I've got the pansies out, and now what I'm going to do is everything is going to be planted roughly 6 inches deep. If you have any questions, typically wherever you purchase your bulbs from is going to give you the directions on how deep to plant the type of bulb that you have purchased, so definitely check that information. I will say one of the disadvantages of creating your own blend with any bulb company, Color Blends, Holland Bulb Farm, whoever you order from, is that you have to separate them out. So they're not blended together automatically. So in order to get a fairly even blend where I put these, I need to separate them accordingly and kind of mix them together. And that's what I will do here. I also will use the trench method. That's why you see this large shovel out. When you're planting this many tulips, the trench method is just so much easier. You'll see what I mean by trench method once we get started. But this is all the equipment that I need. These bulbs, they don't need any fertilizer or anything like that, so don't waste your money or your time putting fertilizer in the holes. The bulbs have all the energy that they need, that they gather from the previous growing season. They store all their energy within the bulb. You put them in the ground, you bury them 6 inches deep, and they have everything they need to pop back up in the spring, assuming they get the correct cold stratification period. And not all bulbs need cold stratification, so absolutely check the instructions on whatever bulbs you've purchased as far as cold stratification goes. Like for example, these alliums here, they do not need cold stratification, but the tulips, they do. So that is just something that you should be aware of as far as bulbs or seeds or any kind of plants that you're starting from, either or. You need to be aware of the cold stratification. But here I have my kangaroo bag, my hard shell kangaroo bag. I love this bag. It's a Fiskars. I always link this in the description below, so if you are looking for one of those, you can get it there. Always get the hard shell, never get the one that doesn't have hard shell. If you're a dragger like me, the hard shell makes a huge difference. These are gloves that I've had for a long time. I'm not a big glove wearer, but this last spring I was digging back in the raised bed area and I stuck my hand directly on a small black widow, and ever since then I have worn my gloves appropriately. These are the gloves that I wear. This is the brand. They're also linked below. They're Dura leather, really soft. When they get wet and stuff, they don't get super hard like some other leather gloves, so I do like that. And again, the link is in the description below if you're interested in those. But anyways, let me just get all of this stuff to where I'm going to plant it. I like to kind of spread out my flats of tulips and spread out my my flats of pansies and my tulips. I like to spread them out so I'm not walking back and forth 57 times to get some of this stuff in the ground. So I'm going to set up my camera in the corner of the yard. Let's just get started. And I'm going to start by ripping out all of the pentas here are annuals for us, so as hard as it is, and even though they look fairly good still, they need to be ripped out. So I'll get those ripped out and we'll start getting some pansies and tulips in the ground. Okay, so now that I have everything pretty prepped, I thought that I would share the tags on these tulips and the alliums as well, so that you can get an idea of all of the stats. So this is the Leva. It's that mauve pink color. It's a late blooming tulip. Height is 22 to 24 inches. It suggests planting 4 inches apart, which I will not do, and 5 inches deep. The next one is the big apricot, a mid-blooming tulip, 24 to 26 inches high. Again, same planting specifications as far as the spacing and the deepness. The Menton is pink with salmon. It is a late blooming tulip, 23 to 25. I didn't get many short tulips this year, but we'll see how these perform. Sometimes it can be a risk because we're really windy here, and when they bloom in the spring, the wind can kind of tatter the leaves or tatter the petals and blow them off. So this is kind of a risk for the height of these tulips that I'm planting. But again, same specifications as far as spacing and how deep to plant them. Next is going to be the allium. So here we have the Globe Master. It's a lilac pink color, very late. Typically alliums are very late. There probably are some that aren't very late, but there's none that I ever buy that aren't. Height 34 to 38 inches, plant 10 inches apart and 7 inches deep. Next is the Gladiator, and these are also lilac pink, very late bloom time, 42 to 46 inches tall. So these are a very tall allium, and then also same planting specifications as the Globe Master and the Ambassador. You can see how big these bulbs are. Like, I mean, this is my hand all the way around one. They are very large bulbs. These are the traditional purple, very late, 44 to 48 inches, plant 8 inches apart and 7 inches deep. So that is the specs on everything. Now the real work starts. I should also mention that this is the correct orientation to plant the tulip bulbs. So it has a bottom side and a top side. This pointy side right here goes up. If you have a bulb that you run across that looks like this, doesn't look good, has some holes in the top, just looks dried out and maybe a little bit squishy, go ahead and discard that. That is not going to produce. You're going to run into some of these bulbs if you order enough of them. And then also the trench method. So let me actually take you up here really quick, and I'll show you a close-up of the trench method. Another reason why I don't heed to the spacing requirements is because and here in zone 7, we treat these as annuals. So it's not near as big of a deal to give them room to expand and multiply like if they were daffodils and alliums. So daffodils and alliums here in zone 7, they are perennials, they will multiply. It's not near as important to give the tulips the space to multiply since they are an annual here for us and they will not come back next year. But I'm getting ready to plant one section down here in the trench method, and I'll show you how I do that. Gotta miss some of these light cords. These are all of our cords for our holiday decor. We are scheduled to get like 2 inches of rain tomorrow. So that is another reason why I wanted to get these tulips and pansies in the ground. I'll give them a quick sprinkle of water after this, but that 2 inches of rain will certainly help. Our soil still feels pretty damp and pretty good. from that 6 inches of the rain that we got a couple weeks ago at this point. Okay, well, I am finally done with the tulip bulbs. It is starting to get dark outside. I did not get the allium planted, and so I'll have to come back out tomorrow and get those done. Those are a little bit easier because I can just take my auger drill bit and just zip holes really quick and throw those in. But I'm just really tired, and as much as I love a good tulip spring bulb show, I don't necessarily love planting that many tulips. Even with the trench method, it still takes hours upon hours and hours in conjunction with 7 flats pansies. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a little bit of water put on these bulbs and on the pansies just to keep them moist, and then we're supposed to get 2 inches of rain tomorrow, and I'll be out here in the morning getting the allium planted before that. But I'll probably actually come back tomorrow when the lighting's better. I will do a little tour of where I planted what, even though it will be hard to see. And that way you can have an idea of kind of the planting area. I planted them in a lot of different spots than I planted last year. So I'm looking forward to the spring show. But anyways, I'll come back out tomorrow and we'll pick up from here where this video left off. All right, so obviously a new day. I need to get these 35-ish allium into the ground. It's expected to rain at about noon, so I have about 45 minutes to get these in the ground. I really didn't want to do this today, and I'm in comfortable clothes. I'm trying my best not to get dirty, so I'm gonna knock this out really quick. And I also have my auger tool, which attaches to my drill. Makes this a whole lot easier since I'm not planting these allium in trench method like I did the tulips. These are just going to be single holes, and I'm going to space them out appropriately since these are perennials for us. I will adhere to the spacing restrictions on the tag. I do have a lot of allium in the front already, as I mentioned before, so hopefully all of those come back from last year. I have no reason to suspect that they won't. I will attach a picture of what the allium looked like last year. I managed somehow to miss a good picture of the front yard with all of the allium in full bloom, but I do have some fairly good pictures of all of the allium. I really enjoyed those last year. So let me just set my camera up and let's go ahead and get these allium in the ground. All right, well, so much for trying to stay clean. It is muggy out here. It's super humid because it's getting ready to rain, so I am sweating. So I have gotten all of the tulips, all of the pansies, and all of the allium in, and now I'm going to relax and I'm gonna let it rain. I'm gonna go work on some bee stuff that I need to get done for winterizing my hive and start planning for next spring and probably editing this actual video. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it so much. If you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.